Yo, what's up guys, Ellis here, and today I thought I'd run through how I made my new track, Show Me How, which I dropped last week as a free download. If you haven't checked it out already, go and check it out. But yeah, I've got a lot of requests to walk through this track on how I made everything. So yeah, let's start. So basically, the project that I'm in at the minute is actually just the drop, because I made the original track in another project with a different drop like a few months back, and I just wasn't feeling it. I really liked the vibe of the breaks and stuff, so I decided to bring this one in and start like fresh on the drop, I guess. But I can show you what the old track sounded like actually. Here we go. So yeah, it's like same sort of vibe, different vocal and a different drop. So what I did is I already put the new vocal in here, and I was starting to like the vibe of it again, so I brought it in here up until the drop, and then started working fresh. And I had like 3 or 4 different drop ideas in here. But what I started with was just some simple drums, like a kick, some claps, and some noise and stuff. The kick is really short because I wanted to focus this drop like around like a good bass line, and I sort of struggle to do that when the kick is longer, because it seems to take up so much of the low end, like interferes so much with the bass. So I gave this bass like a really short side chain, and made the kick really short so everything could punch through nicely. But yeah, start off with these drop chords, which are like the first hits on the drop, and I've used some of these sounds in previous projects before. This is what they sound like. I'm also going to apologize in advance for the CPU on this. It is a hecky project. Yeah, you get the gist. The first preset is this big drop chords preset that I use in a lot of tracks. I made it myself in Massive. It's super simple. It's literally just a square wave with like 6 voices that are panned like really wide. You can do it with this pan position thing, and a bit of noise. That's literally it. And then processing wise, just removing the low frequencies, I think. I don't know why I've got 2, but you don't need 2. And then there's like a reverb on here, but all this is doing is just being automated. So there's no reverb on the actual signal. It just the reverb goes up at the end of the bar just to fill in the gaps. And if you really want to sort of accentuate this and make it kind of like a prominent thing, you can use a gain plugin like after the reverb and sort of boost that up again and bring it back down. Sounds like this. Yeah, it's a cool thing to do. And then just I knew that I wanted that to be the main sound. I didn't want to overcomplicate it, but so all I did was just adding these 2 other layers here, which aren't doing that much. They're just giving it a bit of depth, just like a super saw sound, which is made in Serum. Just removing probably even more low end from that, because this one's already covering the low mids. And then this one, it's like a screeching sound. But yeah, it gives it a bit more character. And together it sounds like this. And then to cover the low end, I literally just copied across this this preset and just made it mono. So I just yeah, apologies for how slow this is. But yeah, there's only one voice on this one. It's mono, and just a bit of distortion and parabolic shaper, and then boosting the low ends a little bit. There's also this like chords sample, which is from an old project. It's a vocoder, but it's sort of just, it gives these chords a lot more depth, and it sort of just makes them stand out a little bit more in the track. Damn you, CPU. But yeah, you get the idea. And that's really it for the main like chord hits, I guess. But then there's these exhausts and crashes, which sort of just add to the higher frequencies, I guess. Fill up that frequency range. So that's that really for those bits. And then moving, there's actually this sound as well. This was from the second drop that I made for the track, but I didn't end up using it in the end. But I actually deleted all of the stems for it, but I left this one by accident, and it sort of just fell into place in the track like wonderfully, really. I just left it in, but it's like this sliding bass sound, and it just works like really well, like flowing into the next bar, I guess. Especially with that reverb automation as well. So there, that's that. There's some little percussions going on, which just drive the rhythm of the track, which I probably can't play to you because the CPU is awful. Really simple. Sidechain again. Tip about sidechain: if you want everything to sound like unison and together, and you want your kick to punch through without turning it up like loads, give everything exactly the same sidechain. I mean, literally exact same settings. I don't mean just keep the same sidechain and then bring it up. I mean like have everything on 100%, and your kick will punch through so much more, and everything will sound so tight and together. So yeah, little sidechain tip for you guys. There's also a string. It's like a disco string sample that is layered on top of the first chord. Yeah, you get the idea. But that, I just wanted to bring in some of the old school elements that were in the break into the drop as well. It sounded cool. There's also this marimba that plays like in between the chords. It's only like 2 notes, I think. Yeah. So this is like a sample that I sampled from like a really old like remix I did or something. And it was like a synth that I made that had about 6 layers to it. And there was quite a lot of processing. So I didn't want to keep importing each of those different layers into the project where I wanted to use this sound. So I literally played in one note and bounced it out and put it into a sampler track. I mean, that's really something that's useful that you guys can do to save a lot of time and to start really implementing like similar sounds into each of your tracks. But yeah, just got a bit of dimension expansion on it and getting rid of that low end once again. And that's about that. I'm not sure if I already mentioned this vocoder thing here. I'm not sure if I did, but it's just a sample from an old track that I laid in. Yeah, so that's that. And then moving on to this next bar, it's kind of like a call and response type effect. And what I've had to do here is, because there's so many layers, it won't let me play it out to you. So I've bounced it out down here, each layer, and I can explain to you what I did instead of you guys not understanding what I'm saying because I can't play anything. So I started off with creating the bass line. I mean, it's quite a bouncy bass, I guess. It started with this sub bass, which is just from Massive. It's just like a sine wave with a bit of pitch automation on, I think. Then there's like a square wave on top of that, removing all the lows and making it a bit wider than the sub, just with like a dimension expander. And then these two sounds here are a bit different. This one especially is really weird, but I wanted to make the bass stand out a little bit instead of just making it sound like a generic sort of future house bass. I think it's a preset from Serum. Sounds like someone eating crisps or something. But I will show you the presets actually. And then there's also this high-end bass which just helps it poke through and gives it that the higher frequency range. And then also layered it with like a real like slapped electric bass, which really helps give it like the funk vibe. But it also plays like the muted notes on the bass, like when the main bass isn't playing. So it really gives it that funk in the groove. If you listen to it here, there's kind of those little extra notes in there. But yeah, let me show you actually how this bass was made. So the bass is here. This is the top end bass. It was made in Serum just from one of the standard presets, I think. But it's really short and really like punchy. I literally just probably changed these envelopes and the glide settings, I guess. But it had a lot of high end anyway. But I really wanted it to like just sort of sit on top of the mix a bit, because like on laptop speakers or whatever, you couldn't really hear this bass punch through. But this layer really helps it punch through, especially with this Camel Crush. This like British clean function helps everything sound just so much louder, and it's just, I think it's basically just really hard compression. And then this FabFilter Satin, which just accentuates the high end a little bit more. And then again, just getting rid of the low frequencies that you don't need. And then there's this weird sound here, which is just another preset from Serum. I've only really just started using Serum, so I'm still getting my head around it. But this was a really long sound before that I just shortened, and again just changed the envelopes, the attack, the decay, and the sustain, so that all the basses sounded like one instead of just sounding like you just chucked a bunch of sounds on top of each other. It's really important to do that. Just sort of tweaking your envelopes and making it sound, each sound like they have a similar length. I don't know, but definitely helps. Moving on to the bit you're probably all waiting for, I guess. How I made these chords. They're actually pretty simple. I did start out making this in the ES2, which I use a lot, but it sounded a bit too like plain for the track, and so basically I just ended up taking all these layers into different synths. This one I literally just brought Serum, I think, so I was messing around in Serum again. But this is what the first layer sounds like. It's got a lot of high frequencies in it, I guess. And then the second layer, more like a mid, like a high mid sort of sound, and this is more of a low mid sound. And together they sound like this. I mean, it covers pretty much the entire frequency range, apart from like the subs, which is what I wanted really. But yeah, the actual chords themselves. The main chord is actually just a preset from a Future Bass Pack by Fabian Mazur, I think. His packs are sick. If you want any like creative as hell sounds, literally go and check out his stuff. It's really cool. But it was like a big like future bass synth. But again, I just took down the envelope really short and bring the attack up and changed the LFO, because the pattern before was like it was too fast, and when I'd play single notes in, you'd hear like extra notes and stuff, and I wanted to have like the flexibility of just putting in the notes that I wanted to be played really. And again, it's just really like sharp decay on the LFO, and that's pretty much all I changed on the actual preset itself. And then just started layering it with these other two sounds, which were also made in Serum, that I think I saved. Yeah. and these were presets as well. And I literally just tweaked the envelopes like I was saying about the bass before, so that everything sounded like whole and was like one sound instead of loads of different things. But I wanted, I did tweak, I think I tweaked the filters in this so that it didn't, a lot of the highs weren't coming through, because this one was already covering a lot of the high end. And then this one I wanted even more down in the low mids, so I took down this thing here, which means that not a lot of the cutoff won't open as much when a note is played. In terms of processing, there's not much on these two, just a bit of reverb and an EQ. But this one, a bit of Camel Crusher and the OTT just to bring out the high end and really make it just like stand out in the mix, because it's one of the main sounds in there. I don't really go crazy on EQing. I mainly literally just get rid of things that aren't needed. I don't really boost or cut much anything else, to be honest. As long as you get rid of the low ends and make sure that your sub and your kick can really breathe, then you don't need to worry about other sounds, because it's a synthesizer. Like, they're not going to have like crazily harsh frequencies in there. I mean, you can always, when you're layering, like cut out different frequencies and stuff, but with these synths I sort of did it within the synth, so it just saved a lot of processing power, as this project definitely needed. And I think from there it was just adding in like little reverse sounds and effects, like these things, and little fills. I mean, there's even like a mouth click thing, and fill, and like a bass shot. Just really simple stuff, just to fill up those like empty gaps in the songs. See, a lot of this stuff I can't play to you, but I should be able to show you in the other project. In the second half of the drop, I didn't want to add too much because the drop itself was already pretty complex, and I just didn't want to oversaturate it with a bunch of stuff. I just wanted to make it flow a little bit more with when all the hi-hats and percussions come in. So I literally just added one synth in, which plays like one note, and it's just a simple saw wave that when the note is played, this depth thing goes up here, and it like increases the amount of vibrato. So it should sound like this. As you can see, it's being automated. Now it's not going to let me play it, but you can see it goes up. And then just a bit of OTT on it, because it was really getting lost and drowned in the mix. And then just a bit of tremolo, which makes it pan left to right really fast. And then some reverb, and again an EQ and a side chain. And then in terms of like percussions and stuff, there's some like open hi-hats here. Just like a tambourine that I recorded in, I think, a while ago. A shaker loop. Another hat which plays on every other offbeat, like another drum loop and another drum loop. But I put a sidechain on these two because they have like claps in the loops, which I didn't want to interfere with the actual claps that I put in the project. So it sounds cool. And then some like on-beat claps and just a riser and loads of other just random effects, really. But yeah, the drop itself, even though it sounds really complicated, there isn't that much going on. But there are some little bits that I changed in the main project, which I'll show you now, and a bit of mixing that I did, I think. So let's move on to the other project. Yo, so I've just moved into the second project, which is the big project file. It's got like 160 different tracks in it. It's crazily busy. So again, I apologize in advance if the CPU crashes or whatever. But yeah, let's start with the start of the track, I guess. So the focus of these breaks, I wanted to be the vocal because it's a really powerful vocal. It's something. It's actually a loop I downloaded, I think, but I just fell in love with it straight away on this track. So all I did with that is I'm pretty sure I just added some like delays and reverbs to it because I mix a lot of vocals in Ableton. It's a little easier for me, and then I export them and bring them into here. So it was just pitched down a few semitones, I think, and then again, yeah, it's the same layer, but I pitched the format down to make it sound deeper. That's literally it for the vocal. And then a reverse vocal going into it. But yeah, the main part of this break here is these chords. I mean, they were originally played by piano, but I feel like it just made the vocal, the vocal was just drowning in the track, and it wasn't the main focus. But these chords really make the vocal feel more powerful. All they are is they're just like filtered saw waves made in the ES2, which is an incredible synthesizer, super underrated. But yeah, it's just a lot of voices, and the cutoff is down a bit. That's basically it. But there's also this little reverse thing. That sounds super nice. There's also little pitch bends in there, which makes it sound really vibey, I think. And then to sort of add to this like mysterious vibe that I was going for in the break, there's these really cool like ad libs, which I just love them. They sound so nice with these filtered chords. So nice. So nice. And they just have a hell of a lot of reverb on them. And then to just fill up the spaces in the track, I just added some ambient sort of sounds like this string drone. I think you've all heard that before. And then these weird sounds. Just sounds like this with a lot of reverb and like filtered chords that aren't taking up a lot of space. That just works so well. And this is how you can add ambience to your track and fill it up and completely change the vibe, really. I mean, this is like you can do crazy things. Like I recorded in just a single note on an electric piano, like a Yamaha CP thing that I got, and just distort it, like put it through a guitar amp or whatever, export it and add delays, reverbs, and anything really, and you get sounds like this. And you can like reverse them as well, which I was doing here, pitching them. I mean, they just sound so cool with the chords. Kind of vibey. So that's that for the first section. Then moving on to the bit where stuff gets a bit more energetic. These pianos come in and start playing like a rhythm, really. I do apologise because I'm missing one of the pianos. For some reason, when I updated Logic to the new version, M1 just disappeared and I don't have it anymore, and I don't know how to get it back. So if anyone can help me with that, please help me in the comments. But yeah, typical M1 piano was there, and then these two more organic, real sounding pianos from Contact, especially this one. You can really hear like the string of the piano hitting and stuff, and it sounds wicked. And to really bring out those sounds, like the sound of the piano actually being played and the notes and stuff, you can accentuate it with like the OTT. If you bring the time up, it sort of compresses the sound a bit and really makes it stand out. And then just to make it sound a little less dull, I guess, I added in just some mallets from M1 and Contact and stuff. that are just spread really widely to the sides, to give space for the piano in the middle. And then underneath the piano we've got like a real bass, I guess. And I've run it through a bass amp so it sounds a bit more realistic, but there's not much to this. Really funky bass line. Love this bit. I just wanted this break to be so different to the drop, because the drop is so like electronic and kind of robotic. This break, I wanted to have so many like influences from old school house and disco and like garage and stuff. I use a lot of real instruments, and in the build, the piano just sort of keeps playing the same chord that it ended on. Some downlifters, some little effects, and some risers, some snares, some downlifters again. Not much, to be honest. And then I created these risers in Serum, I think, but they probably won't play because CPU is so high. And then the drop, I've already gone through that, but there are a couple of things that I added. There's this like weird bass, like reverse thing, and without these effects on, it sounds like this. But then I add like a really fast volume shaper to it, so it's like a super fast sidechain. Sounds like this. And that's sort of just like, I put that where the small reverses were in the drop, just to make them sound a bit more robotic. And then there isn't much else, I don't think. Just these are all just the stems from the other project. I mean, there's this thing. It's just like a funk vocal again. And then moving on to the second break, it's very similar to the first, but the chord progression changes. I mean, we start on a different chord, and that really changes up the vibe again. It's almost like this track goes through like different stages. So like you start off in one era, you go into the next era, and then you go into another era. This is definitely more garage influenced. There was a beat there, but it was like a drum and bass beat that was slowed down like a lot, which gives it that garagey vibe. But I don't know where that's gone. But there's these kicks and then some like triangles and some tambourines, like typical garage percussion. And then this vinyl noise to give it that old school vibe. Some like cheesy DJ scratches. Yeah. And then all the ambience just carries on, same as the first drop, but these chords are sidechained to the kick because there's a lot of low end in them. Whew. There's a lot of ambience in this track. I mean, sounds like this. I use this in a lot of tracks. I think it was like Camila Cabello's vocal, just like distorted and like reversed and stuff, and it sounded cool. So yeah, again, just a lot of ambient sort of sounds in here. Some like reverse clock thing. I don't even know what half of this stuff is. And then this section is really cool, I think. Again, it goes into a different thing again. You can hear this synth coming in, which is just a big like reversed lead. So all this is ES2 again. I love this synth so much. Super simple, just saw wave, bit of noise, 12 voices, and then legato one so I can bend the notes. The thing that makes this cool is that this thing here is called the modulation matrix, which means I can choose a target. So the target I wanted was the pitch 1, 2, 3, which is the pitch for the entire synth, controlled by like this LFO down here, LFO1. And when this goes up, you start to hear like a vibrato effect if you listen. You can see that going up there. So it comes in and out. And then in terms of processing, there's a bit of OTT to like really make it stand out in the mix and just be the forefront of this section. There's an Endless Smile, which is a plugin by Data Life, which is like, you can use it for builds and everything. It's just really easy, like a one knob thing. So you can, I don't know, you'll hear what I mean now. You can hear it almost just turns into a big reverb. That's what the Endless Smile is doing. And then a bit of stereo delay just to help it fit amongst like whatever else was in the mix, which I think is just the chords. And then just a lot of reverb. And the EQ, just taking out those lows. That's all you need to do. And then what else is in this section? The chords just carry on, and the ad-libs, some effects. And then we go into the second build, which is a little bit different to the first. There's this like an ARP thing that comes in, which sounds exactly like The Only Way Is Up by Garrix and Tiesto, but that was completely unintentional. But and sort of just builds up. And then it just builds up again, builds up. Again, ES2. Probably a very similar synth to the last one, just bringing up the cutoff. And these sections in the build where there's a little fill here, I think. This thing. To really want to make that stand out, you have to cut everything out there. I mean, like everything. So like, I'm automating everything down to 0 unless it's like an audio file, and the only thing that plays at that exact moment is that sound, and it really makes it stand out. And that's something you should do as well in drops. Like if you want something to stand out and really sound punchy, it's all about like contrast, like having something really like saturated and drenched in reverb to nothing, to completely dry. I mean, there's producers that do that a lot, and it really makes your productions stand out in quality wise. So yeah, that's definitely a cool tip. And there isn't much else in this build different to the first build, apart from that the chords carry on, but in just the bass notes, I think. Yeah, which are hard to play. Yeah, because I did originally have the chords sort of just similar to the first build where it was just staying on one note, but I thought like continuing the new chord progression on the second build just sounded so cool, and I just ended up keeping it. And then that is about it, guys. I mean, thank you so much for watching, and thank you so much for the support on the track so far. Like I said earlier, if you haven't heard it already, please go and give it a listen, and if you like it, support it. And I hope you enjoyed this video, and I hope you've learned a lot from it. Please let me know in the comments if it's helped you at all, and also what other tracks you want me to run through, any tutorials, anything that you want me to answer. I will reply to your questions. Just drop a comment, and thank you. And if you like it, subscribe.